Hey guys, Bolt here. So we're here for a quick little summary again. So I made this video after Friday's Saiyan Saga rewrite, which I think we're going to be doing that for a little bit until we can finish up Super and GT. But anyways, let's get into this. Let me try to see if that's going to stop it from glitching. Alright. So, we're doing Into the Pit, from Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit. Next week I'm going to hopefully do a rundown and like my thoughts on Fazbear Frights, maybe Tales of the Pizzaplex, but Fazbear Frights, the book series that this game has originally came from, which is just a book series. I think I'm going to kind of do a little retrospective, I think it's called. But anyways, let's get into this. So if you guys haven't read the book, I think it is book 1, story 1, just literally known as Into the Pit, of the Fazbear Fright stories. Fazbear Fright stories are just several volumes, and every volume has 3 stories in it. To kind of give you different corners of the multiverse / universe. Well, I think this is just its own universe, but it has parallels and narrative parallels to the main series to kind of give you ideas. And Into the Pit is literally the closest thing to the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and the MCI, which is the Missing Children's Incident, which is one of the first things we learned from the very first game, where William Afton gets into the Spring Bonnie suit and kills 5 kids. And those 5 kids eventually go on to possess Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy, which we do know kind of as Fredbear now, but in this story, there is a 6th, which I believe is supposed to be either a different character we don't know about yet, or this is supposed to tell that this universe, the puppet is killed at the very same time as the other 5 kids. But anyways, instead of 5 kids missing, it's 6. We get a very big part of this universe is the explanation of Remnant, and like how it works. I think it's Agony is the other thing. So it is the Five Nights at Freddy's World, Fnaf's explanation of how possession works is that it is a soul's memories and like the emotions kind of like imprint on metal that is near it or anything really. So it like surrounds and like aura, like converts an aura around an area, and it basically can take over it, or like when you touch it, it affects you. And Agony is literally just the negative memories and the most strongest negative emotions someone can feel, which is like murder. You're gonna feel huge, like painful anger and agony from getting killed. So this is separate from Remnant, which is kind of like your soul for the Five Nights at Freddy's universe. It's confusing, but basically it's just, here is you, here's your memories and everything that you were, and that is what Remnant is. And Remnant is actually just a combination of metal and the good parts of a soul, while Agony is your negativity of emotions and memories left behind, and that can just it can latch on to a lot of things. And this story is kind of the biggest like reasoning for why it is. because basically the story of Into the Pit is you're a little boy named Oswald. You're in a town that is slowly going bankrupt. After several things are closing, your dad was fired from a job known as the mill, which is kind of like the place to work. When it got closed down, your dad lost job, and several other people lost jobs, and because that was how the economy kind of was working, well, like how good of an economy it was around. But once that and a few other places shut down, there was nowhere to work, so people fled the township, and no one was willing to put money into anything, so it's just been becoming like a little forgotten piece of land. And there's only so few people, and the people that are there are miserable. The only few places that Oswald and his family can afford is a place called Jeff's Pizzeria, which is literally just a regular style pizzeria like Pizza Hut used to be, where you can walk in, sit down, eat a few slices or a whole pizza with your family. But it doesn't have anything extra, like unless you go into the other areas. But because of the town's desperate situation, it isn't cleaned, it doesn't look very good in there. And as we go along, we learn that Jeff's Pizzeria was an old Freddy's, and basically it's just when one of the incidents happened, which is the MCI happened, it shut down, which made it get bought out by Jeff to make it convert eventually. And Freddy's was one of the biggest places to keep the area enriched. And when that shut down and the mill shut down, the rest of it all fell. And also, no one wants to be around the area when 6 kids died. But anyways, Oswald is miserable. He wants something new, and to kind of annoy his father for leaving him there and kind of not being able to do much for him, he goes into a ball pit that's been hidden away, that's been forgotten to time, that I think via the game, we get to see that some of the blood from the MCI has gotten onto this ball pit. And I think it's also mentioned in the book. I have to reread it because I'm a few stories in now. But he goes in and he counts, I think, to 100 and then comes out. And it's 1985, which is at least this universe's date for the MCI. He comes out, it's Freddy's, there's a bunch of kids, they're all having fun, arcade games, running around playing hide and go seek, tag, and all that. He meets 2 other kids to play around with. He explains that he's poor and he's also not really supposed to be there, but they're like, hey, no, we need a new friend. Come along with us. We'll pay for you to get some food. We'll pay for you to get some arcade games, which we don't really get to see that kind of relationship. We kind of just see them meet and go play one game. They play a few things, but we didn't really get the whole, hey, I'm poor, I can't really afford anything here. It's just, hey, I'm not supposed to be here, but hey, no, we need to hang out a little bit longer. But anyways, as they're playing the game, the MCI happens, everyone flees the scene. Oswald tries to figure out what's happening, sees the MCI, meets what was supposedly William in the Spring Bonnie outfit, but we're going to call him the Yellow Rabbit in this one because that is what the game calls him, and that's what a lot of, even the movie is calling it, is just, we are not calling him Spring Bonnie, we're just going to call him the Yellow Rabbit because we can't confuse him with basic Bonnie. But anyways, the Yellow Rabbit attacks Oswald. He runs back to the ball pit to try to get back to the modern day, counts to 100 again, and his dad is there to punish him for trying to hide away in a dirty pit and not, come when he's called. And the yellow rabbit grabs his dad, brings him to the pit, and basically pulls a possession / switcheroo. And this is where I think Remnant takes place. Remnant is such a strong emotion that it can, once it comes in contact with you, it can influence or even take control of some things. So because Yellow Rabbit has touched his dad is able to basically be taken over by the Yellow Rabbits. I don't know what to call it. The entity is embodying his dad, and Oswald, because he's also touched by the Yellow Rabbit, is one of the only few to see this. Because everyone else in the entire world will see him as Oswald's dad. I keep saying Jeff because Jeff's Pizzeria. Anyways, they go about their normal life for a little bit. In the story, it's literally just one night. He goes back, gets in the ball pit to try to find his dad. He's able to find him, try to bring him back. They have a little tussle with the Yellow Rabbit, and they do what happens at the end of ending 2 of the game, and they go off. But in the game, what we're basically seeing is the souls of the MCI are needing help, and you're going around saving them from the situations, giving them new memories, which we'll get back there in a second, but you're saving souls of the MCI to eventually get led to your dad to free him every night. And then we do what happened at the end of the story. So basically, 1985, the town is surrounded by people going to work for the mill and wanting to have fun at Freddy's, but because of the MCI happening, which in this universe is 6 instead of 5, they have to shut down that location. No one wants to be around that area if something like that can happen, and who knows if their kids are going to be targeted again. So a lot of people flee, and because there's not a lot of people wanting to stick around, and also probably the economy starts taking a bullet, the mill shuts down eventually, making Oswald's dad come out of a job, which makes our protagonist in the situation he is now. And the only reason that they are staying is because of his grandma needs looked over. And then just the ball pit is just, it is, I think the ball pit is supposed to be Remnant, not Agony, because reason why I think it is Remnant and not Agony, I think Agony is on the suit. I think Rye Toast made this theory, but they believe that there is a hidden Spring Bonnie suit. Well, the Yellow Rabbit is an actual, the Springlock suit is in the ball pit, and that it is physically coming in contact with them. It is a physical being, but just like the animatronics in the games, this one is possessed by the agony of probably multiple spirits. And if we see evidence from the Silver Eyes trilogy, William has been impaled by the Springlocks before, has survived, and then eventually got back into it to get Springlocked into Springtrap. But I believe that in that one incident with Springlocks, and Rytos himself has also believed this, that maybe some of that was able to actually, maybe you don't need to die to make agony happen. Maybe it's just a very strong pain or very painful scenario happens to you to make that thing exist. So by getting Springlocked, some of William's agony is created on the Spring Bonnie suit to come back. To Lily gets sprung to life. And basically that is explaining the creature, but why is the ball pit doing this? And it is believed by the context of the books that in the epilogues of the books, they are explaining the story known as Stitch Wraith, where basically several things from the Fazbear Frights universe are possessed by Agony and Remnant, and this scientist decides to like collect a bunch of it to make a like animatronic body out of it. I believe the face is made out of a doll known as Annabelle. Not Annabelle. You can see it in the Spring, the Silver Eyes trilogy. It is a doll from one of the main characters, but in this one, it is from 715 or something like that. It is just a doll that is an alarm system. But that is the head. There's the body, which is, I think, just an animatronic body. The heart is from Fetch, which is the animatronic dog of this Fazbear Frights universe that just is a Bluetooth hunt for what the owner wants done, and it takes it in the most literal sense ever. But the heart of that is put in, and there's a lot of stuff just thrown together to make this thing work. And two spirits take over. Andrew is the heart, which is kind of the biggest agony, and is a spirit who was killed by William. While the other spirit, I can't remember at the time, I think it's Jake. Jake is the good spirit who actually has complete control over the animatronic, but he's going on the remnant side of things, where he's using his positive memories to push on, and try to like figure out how they can correct the wrongs as much as they can. Eventually, Jake is able to move on after like basically having like the classic the limbo scenario where either you find out how you died or unfinished business is finished and you're able to move on, and eventually he gets to remember all the good times he had with his in his life, and he's able to eventually move on, leaving Andrew to control the Stitch Wraith, and he goes on to try to do what Jake wanted and try to correct the wrongs, and one of the wrongs is the ball pit itself. And he gets, I think it's on the very end of one of the stories where he goes into the ball pit, and every ball has a memory in it, and it's from all the victims of Fazbear Frights. And spoilers if you haven't read the first volume and read those first 3 stories. I think it is the 3rd story, Count the Ways, because I think it's Into the Pit, To Be Beautiful, and Count the Ways. The Count the Ways is literally Funtime Freddy is discovered by a grandfather who likes to like collect like trash, dumpster dive, look for scrap, try to like mess with stuff. And he finds Funtime Freddy and wants to work on him, but can never make him move. And his granddaughter, who like is in like an emotional phase, I'm not gonna call her emo, but like she's very like, I'm depressed, I want to die. She's like not obsessed with the concept of death, but like she has a lot of personal, like she's a scientist kind of mind where she's like she likes to have a good conversation on the topic. But anyways, the way she speaks and all that, it makes people think that she's down, and she does feel down, she's depressed, But eventually, she flees from like her family little meeting and runs to Funtime Freddy, and I think she hides in his stomach, and he activates and is like, "Hey, I was playing dumb and dead with your grandpa, but I'm gonna have fun with you. You seem to be having a good little idea about you wanting to die, so I'm gonna give it to you." And literally gives her like, I will not release you, but I will give you any other option to die. And he even doesn't mind deactivating himself or anything. Like, why this would hurt me too. I want to make sure you suffer, but I actually have your wish granted by dying. In the end of the story, he takes a sheet of metal to cut into his stomach to decapitate her, and she thinks that this is the only chance for her to try to dodge it. And as he either tries to figure out if he did it or not, or like he knocks out, that'll give her the option to get out of the stomach. But when Andrew gets into the ball pit, we find out that she's got a memory in there, and Millie ended up dying to the decapitation, but Andrew is able to get a hold of the ball that has that memory in it and change it where he would be able to confront Millie on like her memory and basically say, you need to go to your family. So instead of the eventual running to Funtime Freddy and how her death happens, she redoes her memory and goes and actually has nice time with her family. And that's what we're seeing in Into the Pit game, where the MCI victims, this is the last day that they get to be kids, they get to have fun, but this psychopath comes out of nowhere and cuts their life short. You as Oswald are going around saying, "Hey, I'm here to make sure that the psychopath can't get a hold of you anymore or put a stop to what he's planning." And this, it shows a different ending for the MCI victims, which is weird because in the game we only see 5. So unless there's like a secret 6th that we haven't ran into in the game, because I think in my stream and YouTube videos, I've done almost every ending and everything you could do, but I believe there is probably something to explain where that 6th kid is, because it's the kid in the endoskeleton, Mike, Chip, the girl that was thrown in the freezer, and the sassy girl that was dancing in the beginning of the thing, and that's 5. So there's 5 nights. You save a soul every night. That's 5 people. So we don't know what happened to that 6th, and we don't get to give that 6th soul a good ending. So I'm confused a little bit because we do actually get to see 6 bodies in that quick cutscene. But anyways, that's explaining it. It's just Yellow Rabbit is an agony being, and just like Rytos theorizes that there's a literal spring bodysuit in there that's just controlled by agony, and that's why you can physically get touched and he do stuff to him. And the whole ball pit part of the game is you doing what Andrew did and go in and try to change the memory in their fate, and be able to let those souls pass on. Because in that, after saving Millie from her memory, the ball turns gold. And I believe that's what Oswald is doing here, is just one after the other. He's doing it by accident. And then yeah, that's about it. So I explained the MCI, the difference in Fazbear Frights in this, the main games, explain the main story. The only thing that I will explain is the mini games, the secret mini games. There's a gumball machine in the main hall with all the tables. You hit that. I think a lot of people are saying 100 times, which is if it is 100 times, it's a reference to counting to 100 for Oswald to get in and out of the pit. But count the ways is the mini game where you're Millie and you're going in and collecting 5 objects, which is just referring to the choice of death that Funtime Freddy explains. And then we have a weird art of Bonbon in Funtime Freddy's arm, which has nothing to do with that story because Bonbon is separated from Funtime Freddy at this point, which I think we do get to see Bonbon in the mill dumpster area, but it's still weird that, they include him in that. But I think it's just to say, hey, this is the character that it's about. But that's what that game is about. Then you call your mom, I think either during the mission to save the 5th child or right after you save the 5th child. You can call mom on the 5th night, and it gives you the To Be Beautiful game, which, quickly going through To Be Beautiful, it's just Eleanor, which is the narrative parallel to Bert Baby in the Fazbear Frights universe. And she's just the evil boss that wants to obtain as much remnant energy as possible by making as many people miserable as possible. Basically, she goes on a path of destruction and just absorbs all this stuff. And in her story, she's saved by a scrapyard by this one girl who she thinks she's not beautiful enough in her appearance, and basically every night she says that she doesn't like this about herself. Eleanor says she'll grant her wish, and by the morning, she's got that changed. And after a few days, she's a completely different person. She's looking like a sorority girl. Not a sorority girl, that's college. Cheerleader. We'll call her a cheerleader-looking girl. Blonde, pink and white. Like the most girly girl, but yet popular. Like, look at me, I'm popular. But it turns out that basically she was given a necklace that had remnant in it, and that's the only way that this procedure that Eleanor was doing, where she would cut off a piece of her and put some metal on it, that way the remnant could make it to where it's what she wants for herself. And by the end of the story, she's just a literal pile of scrap. And when she removes the necklace, she just falls apart. And she tries to figure out what happened, and she finds out that her basically scraps of her body was thrown away in garbage bags. And I believe we do get to see hints of this in the right side of the mill. Actually, see, I'll watch that later. I'll definitely watch that later too. Let's see here. It would be, I'm trying to think when I would have ran into, hold on, Fnaf into the pit mill. Okay, not showing it. It's just showing random parts of it. I'll be right back. Okay, here is one of my streams. This was number 4. So let's see here. Here's what I believe is Bon Bon sitting back here. You know, we got Mr. Can Do, Bucket Bob, Pan Stan, Number 1 Crate, Mr. Hugs. I believe this is a Freddy forearm or upper. Chica's hand, another Chica's hand. Freddy's forearms. This is probably his other. So these are probably just animatronic pieces. I believe this is supposed to be Fetch here. And then I believe like some I forgot what the Evans, but I'm pretty sure like one of these bags I saw during my gameplay. I mean, it's very possible that it's one of these things, like these little brown pieces. I think it was like hair or something. I'm like, oh, this must be a part of her that's like sticking out to like say, hey, stuff's already happened in this universe. I mean, the fact that Bon Bon and Fetch are here. I mean, I don't know if this is Fetch, but it's just and that's unless that's supposed to be Bonnie, which is very weird. There's like this and a vending machine prize, or they look like, so there's a in the vending machine where you put the voucher to get a prize, which gives you the console you can trade with Jet, and then there's 3 stickers in it, and then you would get the Fetch minigame from it. In the bottom right, you can see that something's supposed to be there with like that's a cylinder, and apparently in the files there's supposed to be like yellow balls or like green balls there. I believe this is trying to tell me this is either Fetch or this is supposed to be like a very miscolored Bonnie. Or just nothing, and I'm just, looking at this wrong. But it looks like eyes, a muzzle, and a nose. But anyways, that's really it. I'll see you guys on Friday for the Saiyan Saga video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.